Hi everyone, welcome back to my podcast, Is Fashion Real? If this is your first time listening to this podcast, make sure you listen to the previous series that I have just completed, all about inclusivity in fashion and the realities of working in this field. I've spoken to many great amazing people about their journeys, and yeah, they're all willing to share their stories with you. So make sure you do that and subscribe whichever platform that you're listening to this on. And now I am starting a new series all about innovation in fashion. So that is specifically to do with fashion technology. That's obviously what this whole podcast and my YouTube channel is all about. However, I wanted this specific series to highlight something that I have been keeping quite a secret. I have just launched a book, guys. I have just published this book with A Press. They are the family of Springer Nature, publish company in New York. And yeah, it's finally happened. It's taken about 1.5 years to write this book and then actually publish it. And now finally I can share it with all of you guys. So if you want to know more about fashion technology, this is the place for that. But obviously order the book as well so that you can get much more in-depth information and details about all of that. So I do have another episode that I will be speaking with my co-author Peter about this book and what we wrote about, but this episode specifically is just to go through really just an introduction as to how this book even came about, because some of you might be listening and thinking maybe I was just focused on inclusivity in fashion, but actually I do have a thing for fashion tech as well. How this book even came about is crazy, because it was really just me on my emails. I get a random message just saying that, you know, hey, we've been seeing what you're doing online and you have a fashion background but also a technological background, so we would love if you can do a book about fashion tech. We've had one previously, now we need, you know, kind of a new one now. And I was just like, okay, is this real? So I just looked into obviously the signature of the person, and yeah, turned out it was A Press. So yeah, shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for noticing my work. So this is also just a little encouragement for those who don't have an online presence but maybe wish to, or are just procrastinating. Make sure you actually post about your stuff. People are watching, and who knew that someone from a publishing company would actually, you know, want me to write a book one day. So yeah, definitely make sure you do that. And that's really how the book came along, and I brought my co-author along because I just thought this would be a fantastic opportunity for two people to write, and it's a lot of work too. and here we are. The focus really has been on how technology can really transform fashion. So that could be from production, you know, you can insert some type of technology such as AI that can just make it more efficient and just save you some time, or even sustainability. That's usually like my line. How can technology help fashion be more time efficient, cost efficient, but also sustainable? And these are really kind of the main things that we talk about in the book, but in all across the supply chain. So from production all the way to retail, marketing, and obviously we speak about design as well, because that is really part of fashion. But I think one thing to really point out about this journey of how I even got here is how I started experimenting with 3D printing and laser cutting, which is technology that has existed actually for quite some time now. But it's just that fashion hasn't really caught up with this technology. And if it has, it's really Iris van Herpen that you'll see using this, which she does an amazing job with that. And I just wish we can see a lot more of that, really. So that's what the point is of the book, but also my journey as well. So just a very quick overview, because I think I'll do a separate episode for actually, like, you know, the whole journey of how I got from you know, the beginning of the career all the way to now writing this book. But just a little overview is that I did start off experimenting, like I mentioned, with 3D printing and laser cutting in my bachelor year in my bachelor's second and final year of university. And I absolutely loved it because you have this new technology in that, you know, in that time that we were being introduced to, that can suddenly make these amazing patterns. You can make great different designs with it, and it can save you some pattern cutting as well. So for those who don't know, when you're making like a laser cutting file specifically, you would make it on like Illustrator, for example, make it in vectors, and the vectors are pretty much the lines that the laser will follow, so that when it's cutting that on the fabric, you're then able to see it obviously cut on the fabric, and that would include as well the actual pattern that you're cutting. So if you're watching this via the YouTube version, you will see some images of my earlier work in where it does show that, specifically on the sleeve of this coat that I made out of wool felt. And yeah, that was really my final year project, and that was really the start of, you know, I want to do more. So I then moved to Paris and started my master's, and funny enough, my master's did include 3D printing and laser cutting in it as well. The course itself was Design for Social Impact, and I also did some complementary courses on the side of there as well. But really the main core was looking at entrepreneurship, but also how can design make a social impact, hence my inclusive fashion background. But also with the 3D printing and laser cutting, that's where we just continued that even further. So fast forward to graduating the master's, I then actually started this role that was focused on a fashion tech incubator, or fashion tech innovation lab is what we called it, at Foundry, powered by IFA Paris. Shout out to them, because I did quite a lot of my work with them actually. So from literally launching this fashion tech lab, we really were focusing on startups that were working on fashion tech solutions. So this could be AI that could help, like I said earlier, with production, or AR that could help with the marketing side, and all these elements. And then from there, it's a case of nurturing these startups so that we can really get them to a point where brands are excited to use this technology, and they can actually use it to help their businesses, of the brands that is. But what we noticed really during that time was brands aren't as open-minded, actually, especially the large ones, you know, the ones that we all know, the Chanels, the Guccis, etc. They obviously have a reputation to keep, but it is a little bit unfortunate that there is this potential that technology can really offer them that they don't really tap into. However, saying that though, there are a lot of brands that are using these types of solutions, and we've seen Nike as one of the ones leading this, just because you may or may not know about their investment in NFTs. So they actually purchased, so similarly to the startups that we were working with who have a solution focusing on technology, you know, and then embedding that in the brand, they adopted a company called Artifact, and they were focusing on digital design that can be then created into NFTs in simple terms. And for that they really loved it so much that they actually purchased it so that it can be part of the company. So this is just, again, an example of when technology is being taken seriously, and hopefully there could be more of that. Some of you guys may not understand it though, because obviously NFTs at the moment, as we see it, is just a digital asset that not everyone will fully comprehend. Why would you need like a digital sneaker, in this case of Nike? But I think I'll get onto that in a different video, because otherwise I can talk about this all day. But yeah, that's really it for the examples, the type of startups we were working with. And then it went on to teaching, actually. So I was actually teaching some students at IFA Paris. I taught the bachelor's and master's in fashion. Well, the bachelor's was in fashion design, but the master's was in fashion technology. And teaching those students really also opened my mind as well as to other things that, the other possible things that the students could do. And yeah, that was pretty fun, actually, because it got me back into that space where I can really fully experiment with the technology myself, just because obviously when working with the startups, yes, you're seeing the technology that they're using, but you don't necessarily experiment and be creative with it, because we were really working from the business element of it. How can we create business? And actually, just so that you guys know, that role was really many hats in that innovation lab. I was working with the startups, mentoring them, doing some masterclasses with them, and then also coordinating the program itself. So the masterclasses that they are being taught about the fundamentals of business and how to create this in a fashion environment. It was really a case of having that coordination obviously up to scratch with the different types of instructors that would help with the different elements. So that could be business model canvas, that could be how to pitch your idea, because not everyone knows how to do that, creating a story around it, and the finances behind it, which a lot of people found quite probably the toughest side of it, really, because if they're more on the creative side, etc. And just filling in those gaps that not all of us learn when we are in fashion school. So really it's about filling that gap from the business side of it, but also the technology side of it, if they were developing that technology with us as well. So that was really fun and very hands-on. But as I said, the teaching is where I really was able to then bring that creative side out of me once again, like I did in my bachelor's. And then, so from there, it was now going into a higher role with the Fashion Technology Lab. And that one was specifically in partnership with Beyond Form and IFA Paris. So the idea was I would be helping to actually introduce more projects that are technologically focused into the school, into IFA Paris. And one of the projects I did there was with Tanya Heath. So Tanya Heath is a footwear brand that the heels are detachable. So if you want a stiletto today, you can wear it, but you can also change that heel into a block heel the next day. So it's really cool. And how technology came into that, well, that's already a type of technology in itself, a wearable. But in this sense of the project, when I introduced it, I would say the client, well, the founder, the one who was in charge of actually telling us what she wanted of the brand, she was saying that she wanted to come up with more interesting ideas when it came to the actual heels. So at the moment, there were classic heels, the classic stiletto, the classic block heel. But with 3D printing, your mind can go everywhere. So the idea here now was to let the students really explore all these ideas and their creativity, and then bring the technology into it by 3D modeling. So this one was really more on the 3D modeling side of things. But then obviously, technically speaking, the 3D printing was also just as important, because it needs to fit into the actual shoe at the end of it. And this one was great. I do have a video actually on this. It's a vlog, and I'll be posting this on my YouTube channel at some point. So you can actually see that journey. But that was really exciting with the master students specifically, where they did really do that, and they had a competition at the end to see whose design should be sold under the brand. And that then you'll see that in the YouTube video, so definitely check that out. But that's really kind of that journey. So that's really a summary of that background. And when it came to the book specifically, it came to the point of tapping into all that experience and then seeing what's going right or what's going kind of wrong with technology and fashion, obviously, And actually, one thing that I didn't really speak about that much was the role, senior ecosystem and partnerships associate that I did, where I had to really be hands-on with brands and see where do they need the most help with their actual, like, the gaps in their business models, really, and how technology can help with that. So again, it's what we talk about a lot in the book as to where it's being used the most. And we notice really in the design element, not used so much, but production element, not as much, but marketing and retail, there's a lot happening there, and that's for different reasons that, again, we'll discuss in future podcast episodes. And I will bring some people who we did feature in the book as well. But yeah, really, there's just exciting things. But I was just saying that with that role, senior ecosystem and partnerships associate, that was really now me going out there and trying to convince people really why we need this technology in fashion and why it's important, etc. And yeah, it was an interesting role, and now I've kind of moved away from that and focusing on my own brand, which I did also incorporate I incorporated the technology into it using 3D captures, and also they are 3D holograms. So that's really using augmented reality to really see this brand in a different realm. So I do have a interview that is coming up on this podcast series, specifically on fashion technology, about this experience with the individual that I did partner with. So the company is called Capacity, and we will be talking about that journey and why augmented reality is actually important in fashion. But again, I could talk about this all day. So that's really it for the introduction. And I will be back to talk much deeper about each little thing that I have just mentioned. But just so that you guys on YouTube watching this can see the book once again, it's right here. I will put all the details in the description box so that you can see how to order it, the pricing, and you can, since you got to this point of the recording, you can get a 20% discount. So I'll put the discount code in the description box as well. But please do make your orders and make sure that you order the book so that you can learn more about fashion technology and see where you fit in, because this book is not just like a textbook or anything. This is actually something that can help you figure out what is the point of technology in fashion, firstly. Secondly, if you are a fashion brand, how can you be educated on all these technologies at different levels of the supply chain and then use it for your own benefit. And then if you are maybe on the technological side, you can see where you fit in the fashion supply chain, so basically the reverse. So this is really the point of that. We'll be back with I say we as in me and my co-author, we'll be back with the next episode talking specifically about this book in much more depth. But can I just say, this is just an exciting time for me, because I didn't think this book would end. Writing it was a lot of work, but it was definitely worth it, because we got to finally get more hands-on with all the people we've been working with for years, and then finally get to a point where we are just putting that all in one place. Stay tuned for the next episode where we do talk about this book in much more depth, and hopefully at least now you know a little bit more about my technological background with fashion, so that it's not just randomly coming at you with all this new series. But thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you and your comments, because I expect some comments, plus also liking and seeing new subscribers on any channel that you're listening to this on. Thank you so much. Bye.